So how do you ensure alignment between the product roadmap and the organization's broader strategic goals and objectives?
So I think in part, definitely there's some parts we've already talked about where sort of pre-engaging some of those stakeholders, and they'll always know, because each of them has their own part of the strategy. You know, that you've got some parts of the business that are like, we need to make sales and make as much money as possible. Other people are around data security and making sure that the system is not going to break. So everyone has their kind of own objectives, agendas, whatever you'd like to call it, and sort of making sure from them that what you're working on at least aligns where it can to what those are, and what that roadmap is for the company. And in particular, you know, honesty also helps a lot more than dishonesty in terms of, you can call out to say, look, it isn't gonna, or it is, as we said, it's gonna have some impacts here, or we expect it's gonna drop sales by this amount, but because of these sort of factors, we think it's worthwhile. You know, because if you omit information from some of those discussions, then people assume you haven't thought of it. So it's easy to have it up there and say, look, we know what it's going to do, and we've thought about all of this quite hard. So don't be too disheartened if you're thinking in your head, oh my God, it's going to have these kind of problems. So I think that's definitely one of them. And we've also touched on a bit about making sure everyone knows what the company's interested in, and what we're trying to achieve. And so you know, some of the projects I've worked on where, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, it was over COVID, you know, and there was, I think the theme of the year was pivot, where everyone was working on something and you just pivot. And so that was, you know, it was almost painful to hear, because everyone was going through such a hard change, and it was a tough time, a lot of people personally and professionally. But making sure that, you know, these are the reasons we're doing it. We're not making decisions just because we want to spin up random projects and make everyone's lives painful. We've got a goal, we're trying to achieve it, and we think this is how we can do it.
That's interesting. So I guess, do you work with a 12, 24 or longer term roadmap at the moment?
So generally, even if it's not part of the business structure, I will, where I can, try and work towards at least a quarterly plan.
Yeah.
So you can have, you know, and that just helps, again, from all levels, I find, because even if it is waterfall agile, if it's anything like that, if you can have the tickets as an example, user stories written out to say, this is what we're going to achieve, and these are kind of the sprints. And then that way, if the business does come in and say, hey, look, we need to make these changes, you've already got that kind of mapped out and going, hey, look, we spoke, you know, this plan. A lot of times I'll bring them in on the ceremonies to say, look, this is how we've played back. This is how we're traveling sprint to sprint. So no worries, we can absolutely accommodate your needs there. But putting in 10 tickets means 10 tickets might have to shift. So what does that look like? Is it a ticket that person has authority to just say, yes, we're going to drop it? Or is it something that's going to impact another team? And you have to say, look, we're going to bring some people in because it needs a bit of deliberation.
Yep. So even if you're working towards a 12-month product roadmap, you're looking at it, I guess, more defined in quarterly chunks, so that you can still meet, I guess, the demands of someone incoming and wanting to make a change somewhere. You can sort of move things around.
Yeah, the first quarter hopefully is listed out enough that you can say, look, this is kind of, this is where things need to shift on a day-to-day basis. Yep. But then the following quarters, you can start bucketing up, and especially once you get that good sprint rhythm, you can fairly accurately predict to some extent to say, oh, look, you know, based on the last quarter, we know we can get this kind of work done. So this quarter will achieve this. The following quarter would probably be A or B. The following quarter, maybe C, D, and E. And after that, I usually will try and just bucket up and say, and we'll tackle the rest in future discussions.
Yeah. And having been through that stage of lots of pivot, have you learned anything from that? And have you kept anything that you learned in the current way you're doing things?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's huge amounts of learnings. It's probably a bit masochistic to say, but I think you learn better from scars than sweetness. So, you know, when everything runs well, it's great, and it's great to feel at the time. But, you know, it's some of the times when things have gone bad or things haven't gone according to plan that you kind of really learn how to shift. One of the things I love to have, but also love to hate to be in, would be they call them, depending on company, they change, but war rooms, where you end up bringing in, you know, heads of each departments and things to go, look, this is the problem, we need to solve this right now, what are we going to do? And yeah, they're always, it's bad to be in them because it means that the business is in a pretty critical situation, but it's great to be in them because you've just got all the minds and all the authority to make the decisions and make the best informed decisions that you can at the time. And so they're sort of almost exciting to be in, and those are good to do. I think on top of that, back to our kind of current theme of, you know, over communication. I've worked in some programs where, again, if you've got it mapped out and you think you know what's going to be happening and anything's going to change, just trying to be upfront around, you know, when something's changing from a green to an amber or a red. You know, again, different businesses handle that differently, so that can be problematic at times. But, you know, I find people appreciate it a lot more to say, oh, look, hey, by the way, because of these things, then down the road that might move into an amber, or this is now becoming at risk. And they're aware of it. Everyone's kind of all signing in blood on the same contract saying, well, we agree that's moving to yellow or amber. But then, so that way, when it eventually does move into amber, there's, again, less surprise. Nobody goes, oh, I never knew that was a problem, or nobody told me that was not going to happen. And you can kind of go, look, we've had these chats along the way. So as we all thought, this is now moved into a different status, or this date might have missed, or this milestone.
Yeah, that transparency is really important.